Hello, so we are at Queenstown in New Zealand in Microsoft Flight Simulator because the World Update 12 has arrived and I thought we might go and do a quick flight just to have a look at the scenery for Sim Update 12. So we are in the Black Square C208 Grand Caravan. So if we go and jump inside, you will see this is the analog Grand Caravan, which is all well and good. We're just going to go and fit it out with the instruments that we want. So we don't want the GTN 750, we want the 530, which is fine. And we'll come over here then. So to get the caravan started up, we want to go and open the fuel shut-off valves overhead. And then we'll come and turn on the battery, turn on the beacon light, make sure the fuel condition is off or cut off at the moment, then move the fuel boost to norm, starter to start, and then we start watching the RPM come up over here. And when it gets past about, I think it's 10% with this aircraft, we'll wait for 20, but we'll wait for it to get some speed up basically on the starter. Yeah, it's not going to get to 20, so we move the fuel condition to low idle. You'll see the inter-turbine temperature raise up to about 85, and then it will drop back to 6, which is absolutely normal, so 600 centigrade. Okay, so then you'll see the lights flickering around. So in terms of the generator, we are going to go and reset it, which will make it the light go out. You can see it's got the auxiliary fuel pump on, that's absolutely fine. Ignition it's saying on at the moment, that's because we have the starter on, so we can bring the starter back off now. We can put the fuel boost back to off, it is not needed for general flight, and then we can go and turn on the avionics. Okay, so while this is warming up and sitting here, let's just go and make sure what is going on with the damage control system. So we've got 100%, so we've got perfect engine condition, which is brilliant. We're going to put the transponder on standby mode. We're waiting for the GPSs to come up to speed, and while we're waiting for those, let's just go and have a little look at this on nav map. So we are at Queenstown, and we are going to be flying along Lake Wakatipu, then off through the hills over to Quintin Lodge, which I have never seen. It's a new piece of scenery, grass runway. Then we're going to fly along the Arthur River and Lake Ada to Milford Sound. Then we're going to fly along Milford Sound out around the headland and then cut back into Martin's Bay to end our flight. So it should be good fun. I'm not quite sure how we're going to get through these hills. I'm tempted to, I don't want to backtrack too far, I'm tempted to cut through, straight through here and follow the hills round, and then kind of find a way in. We could go straight over the top, of course. We could climb as we go along Lake Wakatipu and climb to be able to clear. Okay, so let's go and have a look in the aircraft. So GPS is booted up, so we're just going to capture satellites now, and we'll put our basic route into the GNS 530. So our departure airfield is November Zulu Quebec November. So we just wait for it to warm up. And go into the flight plan page, push in the cursor, roll the selector, November Zulu Quebec November, Queenstown. Enter. Next airport is T004. So we roll, click, T004. Quintin Lodge, enter. Next one is Milford Sound, NZMF, November Zulu Mike Foxtrot. So then we click on the little keyboard icon, November Zulu Mike Foxtrot, enter. And then finally, it's going to be Martins Bay, November Zulu Mike Juliet. So click on the keyboard, November Zulu Mike Juliet, Martins Bay. So there's our entire flight plan. So we can either press this or just press flight plan, and that will take us straight back out. We can zoom out a little bit to see where we're going. So we're going to fly out along here first. So our initial direction is not going to be directly for the let's put it on this map at least. So we're going to fly 220 degrees for the first few miles. So we could try and climb this in one go, couldn't we? Anyway, we need to taxi out. So let's just have a double check around. We need some lights on. So we'll put the nav light on while we are taxiing, and we'll turn the rest of the lights on when we get onto the runway. So we're looking good. No warnings. Parking brake off. Although saying that, can we actually turn in this amount of space? Let's give it a go, see what happens. We might clout that guy on the head with the wing. Oh, he's lucky. I think we did wallop him with the tail though. Okay. So let's, just for a bit of fun, should we run FS Realistic as well?
FS Realistic.
So I'll just minimize it. We'll leave it on its default settings for the caravan. I'm going to turn my own sound up slightly so I can hear the aeroplane, and I'm going to have a look and see what the volume level's looking like for you as well, so I'll turn that up a bit. It's quite a quiet aeroplane from inside. Okay, so this is the new Queenstown, which I have to say looks remarkable. So we're just taxiing down. We'll go for take off flat position already. Obviously there's some strangeness over here with an AI aircraft hovering in midair. I'm not even going to guess why. There's hardly any wind today. We've got live weather on, but you can see there's not a cloud in the sky. I am going to change the weather though, because I was talking to some people that live in New Zealand that were looking at this and they were saying it's laughable. The live weather's massively out, so we're going to go for a few clouds, which is more like the real weather. Although they've probably got clear skies today, we're not going to go for that. Actually, let's go for this runway. Runway 32 we're going to take, rather than the big runway. We don't need the big runway for the 208. Okay, look how spectacular the scenery is. Okay. Hold the center line. And rotate. Sit up so we can see over the nose as we climb out. So we'll slowly loop around over the top of Queenstown. Let's go and scoot to look out the window. And then we'll follow the bay out. Okay, so flaps up now. Trim the elevator. The C208 is so placid. We haven't put the transponder on yet, so we're going to turn that on. We haven't put the strobes on yet, so we'll go do that. We're going to put the landing lights on as well, and the recognition lights. Nobody's going to miss us coming now. Okay, so we'll go and spin the heading bug around. At least I would if I could let go of the controller for a moment. There we go. So on the autopilot panel over here, we can go for heading mode. Turn the autopilot on for a beginning. So we get roll and vertical speed is held. So we'll go for heading mode. And we'll go and set a target altitude, I guess. So just coming up to 3,000 feet. So we're going to go for 8,000 feet, and we're going to arm that altitude and tell the system to climb at 1,000 feet a minute to get there. So it's going to quite happily chug its way up. It's doing 140 knots now. So let's go and have a look from outside. And we can see the new photogrammetry of Queenstown, which is really quite spectacular. Really is something else, isn't it? We're heading off across the mountains. We could fly through them, I guess. So at the moment we're pretty much following our flight plan. We could get to this first waypoint, then take 277 degrees across the hilltops to Quintin Lodge. So obviously we don't have that marked on the map. Is there a waypoint out here that we could use that would more or less follow the same path? Vapley is probably a good candidate. So if I was to delete this one and we insert Vapley on our flight plan, so if we then put the focus in here and then here, go on top of T004 and type in Vapley, and press enter, we get Vapley as our next waypoint instead. So then if we press this, we can see it on the GNS 530. So just coming up into some cloud, coming up through 6,000 feet. So if we press nav now on the autopilot, it's in GPS mode on the CDI mode, so it will now cross over and join the line. So if we zoom in a little bit, you can see that happening. So the aeroplane will bank right again in a moment. And there it goes. So it's just getting onto the trek. If you want a more meaningful display here, it's quite useful that you can move the chapter on here to show the data, and perhaps show all of the data around this as well. Or the best of both worlds, if you've got both screens, you can have a north-oriented map on the 530, and then on the 430 below just have your data. So it's giving you your countdown distance to your waypoint. These hills do look quite amazing, don't they? So we're just coming up for 6,500 feet. You have a look at the engine gauges. I'm running it quite high, just under 100%. So therefore the fuel flow is quite high. We're climbing out very rapidly to our target altitude. Just going to have a look outside while we're on the way. That's just one of the marker beacons. Oh, sorry, that's within 1,000 feet of our target altitude. So if we go and have a look out the windows, we can see what's going on. It is remarkable, isn't it? So we jump back into the pilot's seat. You can see it's making the turn now to fly on towards the first airfield, I should say, first waypoint. So we're just coming up to 8,000 feet, so the aircraft is levelling itself out as well. So you can see the vertical speed will be tailing off now. There it goes, it's winding it out as it comes up to 8,000. There we go, and it drops off now. So we've got a cabin temperature low warning going on, and that's because we haven't turned the heating on. So we'll go and zoom across the cockpit, and there we go. We can turn bleed out on us from the engine as well, which will help expedite that. And I'm just trying to remember where the cabin temperature actually is on this. So there we go, 47 Fahrenheit. So if we press the button, we'll get it in centigrade. It's only 10 centigrade at the moment. That'll soon warm up. Now we've turned the temperature up. Let's turn it up a bit more. And you'll see that's starting to climb. There we go. It'll be up to 25 degrees in no time at all. And the light has gone out. So what might be nice is to put terrain mode on this, if we can find it. So we've got terrain mode, and it's not showing any colours near us, which is what we need to see. There's traffic. We're not really worried about that. This is the one we're worried about. So we're basically, what this is telling us is that we are above the hills. You know, there's nothing intersecting our altitude. Nothing close anyway. So I'll leave that on. That's quite a handy thing to have on. So if we have a look, we're just flying across the top of these hills over towards Quintin Lodge. So when we come over, what's the name of the lake? Lake Tianao. We could, I guess we could deviate slightly. Although we can descend over this valley, can't we? So if we go for K flat instead, that gives us almost the right line. So we're going to go to our flight plan and put K flat in as well. So we'll go over the top of T004 and put in KFLAT. And press enter. So that's done that, and then come here, and then if we go and zoom out a little bit, you can see that happening. Look, the nav mode is automatically taking us onto the track, so it's establishing an intercept course, and then it levels out, which it's about to do now. So it will intercept the track and then start flying towards. So the attraction of doing that is then we can descend in a straight line towards Quintin Lodge, and we'll just navigate around at the last moment. Having said that, I'm just looking at these hills. There's no easy way in. So maybe we wait until we get a bit closer and see what it looks like from the air. That's just madness, isn't it? You see, like, it's not loading textures over there. I think the servers, because this is only launched today, the servers are under enormous load, and there are areas where the graphics are not loading. It's kind of just giving up in places. Right. So the ridge directly in front of us then is this one here. And then the ridge beyond it, which you can see out there, is the one in front of the lake. So when we cross the second ridge, we can begin descending. Having said that, let's have a look and see, can we see contour lines? So that's 1,600 meters, so that's 7,500 feet. Not great, is it? What about the ridge here? So that's 1,000... 1,300 meters. It doesn't really drop a lot in that pass there. That's frustrating. So it may be that we just circle down directly on top of Quintin Lodge in order to make our approach. Or maybe we overfly past, come back down through this valley. We'll figure it out when we get there. Yeah, you can see the valley, look, off to the left. So that's that one. Unfortunately, there are clouds obscuring the one we might take at the moment, which is absolutely typical. Making the turn towards the valley ahead of us, which we can't see yet because of the clouds. So we'll just get past these ridges. And hopefully we might get to see something. Or not. If we were to take a snap decision and go down this valley, does it take us a long way? We don't get a way in still. So I think the only route is going to be to descend directly over the airfield and just circle. Maybe circle over here. So how high is the pass? So that's about 1,000 meters where Lake Quill is. And then the altitude at the ground is about 380 meters by the look of it. Looking at the contours on the map. So here's our route if we wanted to descend, but we don't want to because there's no way out. Yeah? So we're now approaching this valley, but there's no way out at the end, which is what I'm most concerned about. So what we will do to make this a bit more picturesque along the way though is just drop down, say 1,000 feet. So if we come down to 1,000 and let's have a look. So we need to be careful as we descend that we don't overspeed. So let's go into heading mode. Before we switch to heading mode, we obviously need to move the heading marker to the direction we want to be going. And then press heading over here. And the aeroplane's going to turn a little bit left just to stay within the valley. So you can see, yeah, we're not going to descend too far because we might end up having to climb again. There's a pass to the right. So I think the one we're seeing over here is this. But then behind it is the actual pass. We'll see. Or is this it here? I think this might be it here actually. So we'll just turn the heading knob a bit. A bit more. Let's see how that temperature is doing inside the cockpit now. So we're up to 33 degrees. Let's turn that back down a bit. We're cooking the pilot now. It's funny, the cabin temperature goes blue when it's too cold. I wonder if it goes red if it's too hot. Okay, so we can descend here. So I'm going to come off the autopilot. Almost on top of Quintin Lodge. So we're going to zoom in. You can see, look, as we descend, notice the terrain is lighting things up. So we're actually below the level of the hills. You can see this. The map is lighting up as things around us are higher than us. Makes sense? And it goes red, look, if they are at the same height or higher. So we need to get into the bottom of this valley. So to do that, we are going to put the flaps down. Which sounds counterintuitive, but flaps introduce drag. So we'll see that happening. It's going to kick the nose up to begin with. Yeah? then we're going to fall like a stone. So in the bottom of this valley, there's the airstrip, directly below us. So this is a new airstrip. So I'm wondering how best to get into it. I guess we could come around here and circle in. Or do we... No, let's do this the more creative way. So we're going to use this bowl over here and then loop back in and make the turn on the hillside, which is probably not the best way, but this is a lovely stall aeroplane, so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so we need to be careful. Stay to one side of the valley. We're down to 4,000 feet already. Okay, we don't want to go up there because there's not much room to turn. Keeping an eye on the airspeed. Start side slipping this. So there's the airstrip. Look at the terrain view. That's awesome. So again, more side slipping required. We're trying to get as low and slow as we can before we get near the airfield. Now the propellers are starting to complain. It is stunning, isn't it, how quickly the 208 will stop if you use reverse pitch. We're just turning around, hopefully without taking out too much foliage. And we will go and taxi back up and then go on our way again. That was interesting, wasn't it? So how much room do we actually have? Yeah, we're clattering trees with our wings. So in reality, I don't think this aircraft would be used on this airstrip. You'd normally have like a kit fox or something maybe to get in here. Okay, we'll put the parking brake on for a moment. It'd be a shame to come all this way and then not to have a look around, wouldn't it? So this is... what was the name of the place again? Quintin Lodge. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Right, let's go and get back in our aeroplane. Get back on our way. So flaps to take off position. Hold it on the brakes. Open the engines up. Just below 100% RPM. Hold it straight. Gaining airspeed. And rotate. Lift the flaps. Try and get some speed up. I'm trying to win the battle with drag versus lift to get speed up. We're almost up to 100 knots. We didn't accelerate very hard. We didn't use full throttle, but then we can't. This is the realistic version of the... we're not climbing very well. I'm not going that way. So let's follow this valley along. I think this works out for our route anyway. So let's turn the page back. There we go. Yeah, so that works for us. So let's have a look on the map, see where we are. So we are following basically the Arthur River now down to Milford Sound. So there's no need to gain too much altitude actually. We're just going to fly the valley, which is not too difficult, so we can cut the throttle back. That explains why we didn't have much power. We had not advanced the propeller RPM since landing, so while we were cruising along I reduced the propeller RPM using my quadrant, but I hadn't put it back. I'd forgotten that I'm actually controlling that. Yeah, so with a lever. So while we were cruising, I pulled it all the way back. Because you can get away with that with the C208. You can reduce the propeller RPM enormously. Okay, so we're coming in towards Milford Sound, and we'll figure out our approach when we get there. Nearly there. Come off the speed. Pull the RPM back again. So if we have a look on the GPS, what's right? Runway is in the trees down here. Can't quite see it, so we'll loop round over the water and come back in. Yeah, these valleys around Milford Sound are absolutely spectacular. So there is a graphical bug at Milford Sound. This liner seems to draw crazy lines in the scenery as it rotates. No doubt they will fix that in the coming days, but at the moment it's horrendous. Okay, so we're just going to go out across the water here and then loop back in. So we're staying tight to the right hand side to give ourselves room to move. So flaps down. That's the runway. Straighten our view up. As we'll sit up so we can see over the nose easily to give you a much better view of the surroundings as we approach. As we climb out. As the speed comes up, we can retract the flaps, counter that with a bit of backstick. Full RPM, and we're going to climb like crazy as we go around this outcrop. If we have a look on the map, you can see we can take any route through here really. But if we follow this valley and climb all the way along it, then we should be in a good place at the end of the valley. So ideally we want to climb over this ridge. So we're going to keep going with the climb rate, push the engine right up against its limit, hopefully without overheating it too badly. We've been climbing for some distance already, but the cliffs around us are still towering over us. So we're just coming through 3,000 feet. I'll show you on the map where we are. So we're coming along the valley. Hopefully we can drop in and then follow along the inlet towards Martin's Bay. just looks enormous, doesn't it? Well, it's because it is enormous. How are we doing on engine condition? Oh, we've actually damaged the engine. We've been pushing it so hard. I mean, it's not fatal damage, but it's wear and tear. Well, we've been thrashing it almost up against the stops. It doesn't like it. Turn the heat back up a bit though. It's getting cold in the cabin. It's down to 11 degrees again. Okay, let's just trim the elevators out. Let's have a look from outside as we make this pass over the top of the hill. That's some major altitude we've just gained. Martin's Bay is way down there. So we've got the whole of this valley to descend. We could almost straight line it. Just go across the rooftops, the hilltops. Which is probably the easiest route, to be honest. I mean, we could just cut the engine and roll into the valley next door as well. That's just warning us about that target altitude we had earlier. 7,000. We've just come through 7,000 and we are descending. Got hiccups now. Where did they come from? Now, am I going the right way? Is it this way or this way? Should we just double check? No, we're going the right way. Martin's Bay is on the right hand. It's this side, not this side. Shouldn't take too long to descend. Oh, look at that turbulence kicking us around. About 5 miles to run. I'm just looking at the numbers that are ticking down on the GPS down here. 2 minutes away at the rate we're going. Obviously we'll slow down when we get a bit closer, and we'll probably circle overhead Martin's Bay and figure out the best approach. If you just have a quick look on the map, We're just coming in. There's 4 knots, so it probably pays to go for runway 20 rather than 02, which is the easier approach route, to be honest. The river approach route is a little bit more tricky. Right. But we'll overfly Martin's Bay first and then circle back. Just open the engine slightly. Trimming the nose. Okay, we're nearly there. So Martin's Bay is just off the bend in the river behind the trees. We will circle it, so I will pull out over the trees to show you where it is, so I can look out of the side of the aeroplane easily. I'm just going to open the throttle a little bit. So there's the beginning of the airstrip. There's a house down here in the trees, which is, I guess, Martin's house. There's the airstrip, and there's the house. So if we circle the house, you get to see it, and then we will figure out our best approach. Okay. What we're going to do is double back on ourselves. So you will notice there's the airstrip. We're going to come out over here and loop back in. Okay? Well, that's the plan. So flaps down. We need to keep enough airspeed to make the turn, so we need to be a little bit careful. Notice the flaps are causing the aircraft to shake slightly. That's absolutely normal, don't worry. It's just the drag. Okay, so going for full flaps and gliding to lose some speed. See the airstrip. And now we've got the ridge where the trees have been removed. We can use that to side slip through it, which will lose us some altitude and speed at the same time. Straighten back up. Get the aircraft down. Go for reverse on the pitch. Then we stop remarkably quickly. Okay, flaps back up. Take the landing lights off because we are not going to be going back up. And we'll taxi in and go and say hello to the people in the house. and then apologise for knocking down some of their shrubs with our wingtips. Yeah, it's just this tree on the end. What a silly place to put a tree. Okay, so we can cut the engine off. Engine has stopped. And I think we're good to go, so we can just turn the generator to... you can't actually turn the generator off, it just does a reset. And there we go. So that is Martin's Bay. How cool is that? Take a screenshot, and I'll see you again soon.